when you begin to get intense about regulation, you very much slow down innovation. And part of what we have is, I think we're going to have better tools even to navigate the risk in our future. So it's part of the reason why
you've advocated for optimism around generative AI, including in your latest book, Impromptu: Amplifying Your Humanity Through AI. Are you more or are you less optimistic now?
Definitely more. Part of it's because, like, for example, when you get to there's so much dialogue about the risks of all sorts, and that's, by the way, important, but risks are always framed about like where we're trying to get to. And from that time, I realized that GPT-4 is already can be a great medical assistant if allowed to be. 5 billion smartphones, billions of people who do not have access to a doctor. You could do something as a tutor. We already talked about the ChatGPT, but it's already there. All of these forms of human amplification. And yes, we need to pay attention to and be in the dialogue about the risks, but the real important thing is to not fumble the future. And I think that that kind of question about my challenge to the various people who talk about the risks and critics is say, realize that if you just say, like, for example, if I describe a car to you as it's a 2-ton death machine you might die in, other people might crash into you, and boy, we should resolve all that before we go any further with this, well, we wouldn't have cars today, right? This is the kind of thing that we need to get to. And again, it's not saying, look, I think there are no risks with technology. Well, that's also Bozoville. It's we pay attention to them, but we're driving towards that amazing future.
And what role does regulation play, including, President Biden's executive order?
Right. So I actually think the EO was broadly very, very good. I think that the question around saying, look, talk to us when you get to there's a scale compute revolution. When you get to a certain scale on the compute, do some red teaming, do other things. I think that's a very good thing to start with, and it articulates itself as a dynamic thing. Like it starts with, it says, well, who knows if that number of exaflops could be gamed and da-da-da. And it's like, yeah. If you look at the EO, it says, this is our first swag. We're working on it. It's a dynamic work on progress. And I think that's exactly the kind of approach we should be taking to critical technologies like AI. And I applaud the administration for being both forward-looking, for being, caring about humanity, but engaging in dialogue with the industry, recognizing that it's dynamic, being a kind of like, how do we make sure we get the best possible things for our citizens and for the world out of this while navigating the risks? And so I think that's quite good. I do think that the key thing that we think about regulation generally is when you begin to get intense about regulation, you very much slow down innovation. And part of what we have is, I think we're going to have better tools even to navigate the risk in our future. So it's part of the reason why people say, well, on one hand, you got these people talking about the risk. On the other hand, they're really working to build it. It's like, yes, because there's great things in the future and there's better ways of navigating the risks. And part of the reason we're in dialogue is to say, well, it's not just us building it, but we're building it for all of us. So let's have a dialogue about what the important things to do are and the important things to avoid are.